This video is the digital equivalent of breaking the seal. Hoi, my name is Sana, and I thought it was high time to come on here to say hello. When you don't post for a while, the pressure builds up and then you're just too scared to do anything, basically. But yes, that is what this video is, either a hello again or a hello for the first time. Parts of this video are going to be about what might be changing a little bit on this channel. I also want to introduce you to my new hometown, or at least for now. And some of you also sent me questions about what I'm reading at the moment, about my job, questions about my knitting. So all of that and more will be in this video. Next section, which is hello and welcome to St Albans, the cathedral city 20 minutes outside of London, where I've been living for the last 2 years. It has a lot of Roman history and of course history around the cathedral and pilgrimages. It actually feels quite similar in size to the seaside town that I grew up in the Netherlands. Sort of same size, same vibe. And as some of you might know, in the 10 years before this, we lived in London. There are some really cool spots in town. Books on the Hill is an amazing bookshop, which was definitely a big sales point when we came for a day trip to see St Albans for the first time. Really nice cafes and lunch places and really interesting local events. There is the Alban pilgrimage, which has like larger than life puppets, and I came across it by accident for the first time. There is a ceremony to beat the city bounds. You go around with sticks and you walk the ancient city borders. It's a tradition that's been going on for hundreds of years. One of the things I love most is that within 20 minutes you can be in London, and if you walk for 20 minutes you've got this like gorgeous landscape. It feels like you're in the middle of the countryside. You've got beautiful tea houses, cozy pubs, but we do still find ourselves in London quite a lot, usually multiple times a week to see friends, go to events, or just go for a day out. I was going to take you all the way to the cathedral because it's even bigger than this, but I've run out of time and I have to get on the Eurostar soon. Next, let me tell you a bit about my job. So I'm currently, and have been for the last 5 years, a freelance social media consultant and producer, mostly in publishing. Before that, I worked at Penguin Random House UK and Hotkey Books in-house in publishing, and I still do a lot of the same things that I did then. I'd say some of the things are very similar still, and then some of them, it's just like I've added 5 years of experience to them, or I've just focused on them more. I've definitely massively scaled up the photography work that I do. I do a lot of video work as well. Like one of the things I do is board game explainer videos for a publishing company, content that showcases books that publishers use to run ads with. I've done things like consult the YA Book Prize with their social media presence and also their online events, especially during COVID. I've worked with DK Eyewitness with their travel books, helping them set up influencer campaigns. It changes a lot, but I love the variety, and that's what I always loved when I was working in-house. The job just contains a lot of different things. I also interview authors for events and host workshops, and I'd love to do more of that in the coming years. Someone asked if I could describe a typical workday, and it could be anything from 9 to 5 photo editing to having a day where I start with a call with a potential client or with an author. Then I am sending invoices, working on influencer contracts, buying props for an upcoming shoot, doing final video exports for a project that's just finished, maybe creating a script for a voiceover or writing a pitch for a sponsored post. It could be any combination of things, really. One of the weird things about freelancing is that you basically are in charge of giving yourself a promotion, and a lot of work goes into it. So it's one of the things I'm doing this year. I've created a freelance bingo card with gold stickers to fill it in and everything, and I've written down all the tasks I need to do to basically get to the next level, like revamp my entire website, make new processes, do some courses, come up with new workshop templates. There's a lot to do. I've been freelance now longer than I've had any other single job in publishing, and I think the reason that I kind of knew I would be interested in doing it, or at least wanted to try it out, which has now turned into 5 years, is that before that I was already running my YouTube channel, which also involved independent work, negotiating contracts, coming up with ideas, that kind of thing. So I think that definitely helped me feel more confident when I started freelancing, which also leads me very nicely into a chat about content creation. Let's go home. I can only imagine that if you aren't in the habit of making things to post on the internet, and any discussion of content creation might not be very interesting. But I do think that if you're an avid watcher of people on YouTube or TikTok, it could potentially give you a tiny look behind the scenes and I feel like it also applies to potentially all other forms of creativity. So I've actually been making videos on YouTube since 2008. Is that almost 18 years? I guess it is. You go through a lot of changes yourself. The platform goes through a lot of changes. New platforms appear. I feel like I've been there through it all. I've done it at all different levels with different time investments and different levels of success. I think most of you out there that watch these videos are, I guess, like in my age bracket. I'm mid-30s, but people are kind of like end of their 20s, early 30s usually. You'll probably have been around for a lot of the changes that YouTube has gone through. I almost feel like some parts of what TikTok is now is what YouTube used to be. The 2-minute videos about the most random topics, not having the ability to make thumbnails and snazzy titles. The time commitment, while still being high, is again way more similar to what it was on YouTube sort of back in the day. YouTube used to rely so much on this sort of subscriber method where people subscribe to certain channels, you'd always come back for them, that's what you watched, and now you're way more sort of putting your video out there on the platform and hoping that the thumbnail will appeal to people, they'll click on it. It has taken, you know, the better part of maybe the last 2 years to have that attitude shift where you're not sort of begrudging the platform for just changing entirely how it works, which means that you have to think about what you make in a different way. It doesn't mean you would make different things, but you just have to like wrap it up in this bow and you're becoming like a marketer for your own content, which is kind of what I was begrudging it. But I feel like slowly, and maybe also due to making more things on TikTok and trying that out, I feel like I've gotten over that. After not making too much on most of the platforms I was on, I have over the last year successfully sort of picked up Instagram, launched my TikTok, and having a lot of fun posting sort of creative and travel content there. I finally, after like 5-6 years of having the idea, finally launched the End of the World Book Club sci-fi podcast about apocalyptic and dystopian books. So super happy that that's there. The first season has just ended. There are 8 episodes for you to listen to. I talk to translators, fellow YouTubers, other people in the book world, and it's all about making apocalyptic and dystopian books like more accessible for you to discover new ones, old ones, just find your way in that genre. I really like talking to people about what they are currently watching on YouTube. I'm watching a lot of Rachel Maxey, as always. I really love Becky, who does these amazing watercolor videos where she sits in a cafe and she draws what she's eating, what she's drinking, the view, the cafe, and I'll get back to that, but she's one of the people that I feel like helped me most with getting over this block of everything having to be perfect when you draw. I'm loving watching Ariel Bissett do up her home. I'm really enjoying the Climate Town YouTube channel if you're looking for sort of accessible, engaging climate content. Still watch a lot of illustrators who do these like wonderful calming videos. Minnie Small is someone who I would really recommend, and my friend Fran as well, of course. And then I've also slowly gotten into knitting channels. A lot of knitting channels seem to take the shape of like really long sort of podcast episodes. I started watching the Crea Bea channel and I'm sort of adding more to it as I go. In the past year, I've really looked at previous videos that I've made and which ones I've enjoyed most and which ones I'd like to do more of in the future. And I think a lot of it will be centered around books and the occasional like literary travel, as I do anyways, but then also include that crafting, creativity, learning new things and sharing that with you. So a little preview of what I've been working on. I really want to make a video about making my own commonplace book, which in history has been this like notebook where you keep quotes and things you want to remember, show a bit of the wisdom off that you've learned from books that you've read, kind of as a tool to keep things that you want to remember in one place. Kind of going hand in hand with some of the Bronte stuff I've been reading, and then also Gothic classics, which I'm sort of trying to, I guess, like self-study, learn more about. I went to the Jane Austen Festival last year and I made a Regency dress and I documented the whole process as someone who has never sewn anything before. I also made an Outlander shawl and read Outlander for the first time, and I went to Edinburgh for a week and sort of book shopped and read my way through the city and documented all of that as well. If you're currently not following me on Instagram and TikTok, I do post a lot of different things on there and document trips and recommendations and some of my reading. So if you're interested, that might make a fun addition. Then sort of related, someone sent in a question saying, have you ever thought about writing a book? I just dropped so many things on the floor while trying to grab this. As you might know, I have the Books and Quills book club journal, which is still available in some places. It came out about 3 years ago, and I wrote some little like intro chapters for that to help people organize their own book club, and then the rest is a guided journal. So that is out there in the world. It feels like a bit of a fever dream because it all happened during some of the lockdowns and like that first year of COVID. So sometimes I wonder if it is even real. I don't think I am cut out for writing fiction, but I do have a big interest in nonfiction, and I am currently working on a literary travel guide, and it's a literary travel guide to the UK and Ireland. It's something that I know will take a long time, so I'm not pitching it to anyone currently. I'm just doing the research, doing the writing, and doing that alongside everything else I'm trying to do when I have the time. Good thing is it will hopefully never be outdated, so I can just keep working on it and see when I can get it to a stage where I might want to pitch it. Welcome to the crafting section of this video. One of the questions was, what is your current knitting project? I have one that I just finished, which I'm the most proud of, and then one that I'm working on. This is my ginormous Sophie scarf. I followed the Sophie scarf pattern, but I just kept going to make it longer. I really love the Sophie scarf pattern, but I do very often feel like it's made for people with very tall, skinny necks. I wanted to be able to wrap it around twice and put a knot in it and still have some cute bits sticking out. What I like about the length of this one is that if I want to do like a more historical sort of like shoulder covering wrap scarf, that also works with this one. I think the color is really good for it. So yeah, had a great time making it. We'll put the yarn in the description. That is the Sophie scarf by Petite Knit. I got some new knitting needles this year, and I've done a full review of them on my Instagram if you're interested in that niche, but not that niche topic, I guess. I keep my knitting in these Shakespeare and Company bags. This is a beanie that I am making for Jer. It's supposed to be fisherman's beanie. I made the entire thing. It took me like 3 months on my old needles, more in the like beginner phase of my knitting. It was just a little bit too tight, and I basically said, I don't mind taking it out. It's good practice. So I recalculated, took it out. I'm using my beautiful new Chiagu needles. I also had a really hard time finding just kind of like neutral, classy looking needle stoppers. A lot of things in knitting are quite like neon or cartoony, and so I definitely gravitate more towards the Scandinavian stuff. I feel like I've done this in about a week. So the new needles and the expertise are helping a lot. They're adding up. I've been trying out a ton of crafts this year. I've also been doing some embroidery. So this is a Jane Eyre quote kit that was kindly sent to me by the creator, which again, I will link in the description. Really enjoyed doing this. My first proper piece of embroidery since I was like 12 years old. And then I realized that a lot of people get gifted sewing kits that they're not interested in. Again, I am trying to find ways to like not buy all new yarn, all new stuff. There was some book subscription box that they got sent this embroidery kit with it, and loads of people aren't into it. So I picked this up for a $5 on Depop. There's this beautiful wolf with a moon, and there's like trees growing out of its back. So having a great time with that. If you've been around since the dawn of this YouTube channel, you might know that I used to do stitch and bitch videos when I was teaching myself to knit for the first time. Maybe I was about 18, 19, and I used to do chatty videos where, I mean, again, they were like 3 minutes because that was the standard at the time, where I used to chat and knit at the same time. I've done sketching challenges on my channel before where I tried to fill like a whole notebook or try and go to museums, and a lot of people say that when you get into your 30s you might sort of go back and try out some of the hobbies that you loved in your teens, and that's definitely true for me. And of course I'm trying to find like the best way to incorporate this in my YouTube videos as well. Sketching is a big thing that I've taken up over the last few years. I even organize some sketching groups and craft groups. I've really cracked how to commit time to it and how to do it without feeling the perfectionism, and a lot of it is just fully making it about the process and the fact that you are doing it, sort of ignoring the result. It becomes easier the more you do it, because then you don't have like one drawing that everything that you're doing is sort of leading up to this one result of this one drawing. If you have a whole notebook filled with some good stuff and some terrible stuff, then it just becomes a lot easier. So definitely learned how to make things about the process and enjoying the process and spending time doing it, and that being the end goal. And I think doing the activity with other people then also makes it about socializing, about seeing what other people do. So it takes the pressure off that perfectionism, which is perfect and kind of the end goal for me. I spent many years sort of thinking, oh, I wish I'd spend more time drawing this year or doing something creative. And then last year I could look back on the year and go, I actually did it. I don't have any regrets about how I spent my time doing creative stuff. So that is wonderful. And again, something I really want to share and pass on as well. Someone asked, how do you balance online work and offline chill time? How do you take the pressure off? Next to like work and housework, I can do about 2 things. And that's kind of on a week by week basis. So either I am knitting and reading, or I am editing YouTube videos and doing a podcast. Like there's space for about 2 things. I can't do all of them at the same time. So I kind of have to shuffle which ones I focus on at any given time. The other thing I've done this year after having a discussion with different people is to sort of pay yourself first, but not in money, in time. And I've experimented with this over the years, never been successful, but this year it's really worked. It was one of my big goals for the year, and that is Mondays are fully reserved for creative work, my own creative work. And since I'm able to put like sketching and knitting and stuff into the rest of my week, that's not something I focus on, but it is purely about recording the podcast, editing a YouTube video, making TikToks all day, editing photos, like that kind of stuff, all for my own channels, and having that separate day, especially one that's right after the weekend, so I can just sort of not look at my inbox, not look at anything else, don't get distracted, has been really good and productive and fun. And obviously I'm a freelancer, so I have the ability to divide up my time in that way, but for me, because I have this time, it's worked really well. I feel like I can't leave this video without talking a bit about what I'm reading at the moment. So I'm currently reading The Bloody Chamber by Angela Carter. I'm reading this for a book club, and they're not supposed to be fairy tale retellings, but it's sort of gothic interpretations, like reinterpretations or stories based on the idea of one of these fairy tales. The first one is the longest one in the bundle, which is what I'm reading right now. It's a classic Bluebeard story. If you know what Rebecca is about, that's kind of the vibe. I think this was written in the 70s, but loving the writing so far. Very immersed, very short. And I've had this on my shelves for maybe over a decade, so it's very satisfying to finally get to that. And then I have this proof copy that was sent to me by a publisher, Private Rites by Julia Armfield. I love Julia Armfield. I love her books. Our Wives Under the Sea and Salt Slow. Creepy, literary. This is a King Lear story about 3 sisters who discover that their dad has died, but it's also set in this sort of apocalyptic England where it hasn't stopped raining for years and years and years, and everything is slowly flooding. You have to get to places by like ferry, but everyone is also still living their lives as normally as they can. And so it's about the relationship between these 3 sisters, none of whom really have their stuff together, and their dad dying brings up a lot of different things. So this is out in June and I'm really enjoying it. I have like a tiny bit left. And then the final question I was sent was about upcoming travel, whether there's any trips that I'm excited about, which yes, the second half of the year is going to be quite busy. Earlier in the year, we went to York for my birthday for a weekend trip, which was wonderful. I'm really excited to go to Copenhagen soon, which I've never been to before. And then we are also hopefully going to Japan in the autumn. We're going to a wedding in that part of the world. We've always wanted to go to Japan, so that's going to be a really fun trip. I'm going to buy all the matcha I can get my hands on. And then I am going to the Jane Austen Festival with a bunch of friends. I'm making a new dress this year. I started planning earlier than last year, but at least like I know exactly what to look out for. I'd love to put up some blog posts with tips and tricks if you are thinking of going for the first time. Those are some of my updates. Hopefully I filled in some of the blanks. I just wanted to, say a hello again. If you've been watching for a while or you're new to the channel and want to do a little introduction of yourself or a reintroduction in the comments, I would love to read those. If you missed it, I also put up my favorite books of last year if you're looking for more reading recommendations, and I'll be back with more soon. Doei!